This podcast is brought to you by Independent Building Advice. IBA acknowledges traditional owners of the land and waters this podcast is recorded on. If you find this episode helpful, follow us for more so we can continue putting out free value for all homeowners in Australia. It really goes a long way. Enjoy the episode.
Today we are talking about flooring and different types of flooring that you can have in your home, benefits, what's involved. We're going to touch on carpet here, we're going to touch on vinyl plank, we're going to touch on all sorts of different things. And we've got no one better that I can think of here is Robin from Trevor's Carpet, who is not just about carpet, you're about a whole heap of things. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. How long have you been at Trevor's Carpet for?
Well, this time around about 10 years. It's actually my 10-year anniversary this year.
Congratulations.
I did originally start back in, it was 2004, my first time there.
Yeah, right.
Worked there for a couple of years as a sales rep and had the travel bug and went overseas for a few years before coming back. And
all through Europe? And
yeah, did all that sort of thing and came back, did FIFO work and all that, and then touched base with the old managers again when I wanted to come back, and yeah, pretty happy I did.
There you go. It's one of those things you start one day and just never leave.
Yeah.
How did you get into carpet originally? Because it's one of those things that you don't, it seems like people fall into it. They don't, it's...
Yeah, for me, it was just going into just, pretty much standard sales rep position, kind of started there, did that for a few years and worked my way through Trevor's, basically working up to area manager. I've managed our multi-residential commercial department, and now I'm sales manager in Osborne Park, and taking a real affinity to solid floors, and solid hard floors, timber particularly, and a real love for that particular product and trying to find the right stuff for the right people. So I love what I do. And
yeah, amazing. Yeah, because really what you're doing is you're trying to ask them about their lifestyle and make sure they're getting the right flooring.
That's exactly right. Yeah, just kind of, going through the process and, finding the right product for the right person, basically.
Amazing, yeah. And just as a bit of background, I've been in the industry for 25 years. When I think flooring, I actually only think Trevor's Carpet. I've probably had about 4 or 5 training sessions at Trevor's Carpet over the years. And each time, you guys have just been a wealth of information. I'm not just talking it up because you're here, but this is why we reached out to you, because your team just knows so much. And they can just talk with confidence as to why the different floorings, they seem neutral and unbiased as to which is the best option, which I think is just a great resource to have, because I find a lot of the industry are wrong in what they tell people. And I know I've been guilty of this. I worked for a major builder. They would get us in for training and they'd turn around and go, oh, hybrid's the best and blah, 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 or whatever. And then you would just regurgitate what was told by the builder and never actually heard from the source what was better. Then I'd imagine you have clients rock up and go, hey, this is the flooring we want. And you're going, why?
Exactly. We run through it all the time. But, you're dead right. Trevor's is one of those places where we kind of try to take the honest route. It's kind of just laying out exactly what this product is, how long it's going to last, how it's going to stand up and things like that, and just find the right one for them. But, yeah, you're dead right. There are a lot of people that do come in with some pretty big misconceptions of flooring, and often we are the ones breaking the news to them.
Yeah. Well, I actually had that today. I was with clients earlier, we were going through their pre-start pricing, and they actually mentioned Trevor's Carpet. I went to Trevor's Carpet, and it was actually really helpful. And then our builders basically changed suppliers. I think that was actually you guys that changed them rather than the other way around.
Yeah.
And then they went to the other place. They just didn't get any answers. It was like, which one do you want? Okay, we can get that done for you. But no, is that better? And they just didn't get the clarity. I thought it was quite funny that you I said, well, I might be able to answer that question for you in an hour when you come in. So it was quite ironic they came out. I went, I think I know who to ask. No, but okay, so Trevor's Carpet, obviously the name Carpet and Trevor's doesn't really help you guys too much because people think you're just carpet.
Yep.
What kind of flooring do you guys offer?
Oh, you name it, everything. We've been around since the 70s, and it started as just a standard carpet shop. But not long afterwards, we pretty much got into every other avenue. From your sheet vinyl.
What was that?
Your sheet vinyl.
Your sheet is just the way you said that.
Yeah. So, which is just a rolled out, loose laid product, and then you've got your vinyl plank, your laminate, your hybrids, and the timber floors as well. So we do it all.
So you said tiles?
We did dabble in that once, I believe, not when I was there, but no, that's no.
So all but tiles, but the reality is there's enough options for tiles out there anyway.
Exactly.
And what you can do there. So that's what I want to sort of talk through today. The different types of flooring. Obviously, we can't we don't have time to go into each one in great detail, but where do you find the benefits of each of those different floorings and when people should apply them and not apply them? It's a very broad question, that.
Yeah, well, I think there's a real way to split them up is like around the way that they actually get installed.
Yep.
You know, you look at something like a normal sheet vinyl product or a laminate or a hybrid, that's a floating floor. You know, it's not a floor that's actually going to get glued down to the floor.
Yeah, so just on that, so floating floor is one that's just...
Yeah, so that'll be a product that's basically locked all together.
Yep.
It's not glued down. There will be little gaps left around the perimeter of all these rooms to allow for expansion, which we then cover with, Scotia and things like that. We'll have beading around the edge. They will have expansion trims and the such. And then you have things like a vinyl plank, which is just, a product that gets glued down. It's basically just a nice high definition print with a wear layer, plasticizers in the core, that gets glued directly to your floor, doesn't need any expansion. You then get timber, which we only direct stick. That is obviously a more natural product, does expand and contract with the seasons. So we do only glue those down, but they too do have the requirement for a little gap left around the perimeter to allow for the expansion contraction over the seasons.
Yeah, and that's just a proper application to put it in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I gave you a really broad question there, but I guess we'll go different types as we go through it. So you've got, so obviously a big one is hybrid. It's a buzzword. People go, oh, hybrid flooring, it looks like timber, but it's better. And then they come to you and you guys go, well, that's maybe not the best option. Can you walk us through what you find regularly, what misconceptions, what people might think, and mainly hybrid versus vinyl plank, the differences, and then the traditional vinyl that most people are aware of from the 70s that no one ever wants again.
Well, you did right. The hybrid is the buzzword everyone's using at the moment, but you came into the showroom 10 years ago, it was vinyl plank. So it's just taken over from that. And, in all honesty, the major difference between the two is just they've taken a vinyl plank product is, as I mentioned before, the print, the wear layer, the plasticizers, glued down product. All they've done to the core of that is added limestone. So you've got they call it an SPC. It's a stone plastic composite core, which takes it from a glue down sort of bendable sort of product to a very rigid product. So that just moves it from something that is glued down to something that's floated on the floor.
So why would you have a floating floor instead of glued down?
A lot of people don't want to glue things into the house. If you down the track you want to change your floor, there's going to be a lot more costs entailed for pulling up something that's been glued down. The removal for it is much easier. It's like hybrids are perfect for rentals and things like that. Investment properties, where you don't know who's going to be living in the house. You might have some damage, ease of replacement, things like that. Generally, your glue down products are something your owner builder people that are going to be staying in their own house and they want it to look like a certain aesthetic, and they know they're going to be there long term. They're going to look after it, and that's the look they want, basically.
And that's the timber look you get, really.
It is. When you're looking at vinyl plank is probably the best way, like price wise, to kind of get something more affordable but achieve like a very close look to real timber. And that's solely because of the way you actually install it with that glue down system.
And when you walk on it, you're not hearing the clip clop. You're hearing that solid sound, which is
exactly right. And it's with the whole benefit of not needing expansion as well. So if you can imagine a hybrid floor coming up to a tile threshold, we're gonna run it just short of that. We're going to put a 50 mil wide cover strip over the top to allow for that expansion. If that was a vinyl plank product, we're just going to screed it up and ramp it up ever so slightly, just so it can actually make nice and level with the tile.
The bit of metal finishing off.
All you're going to see is that tile trim over there. So visually more appealing. So that's why I say for those people that are like living in their own homes and they don't have the budget for the real timber. The vinyl plank's probably the best way to go for something like that. But as far as like structural stability and things like that, your hybrids have got some better benefits there. And you're very, very popular with, first-time buyers, renters, things like that.
Gets you in, absolutely. You said something really, really important there, and that is, you said it really quickly, but that strip that goes across when you're changing from the hybrid to the carpet, what's that strip called? That 50 mil strip you said?
Well, it depends. If we're going up against, if it's a floating floor and you're coming up to any surface where it's got varying heights, we're going to use it's a cover trim, as they call it. So Yes.
And people don't. And if you're at high end, that is something you absolutely want to check that with what you're getting, because I've designed some amazing homes, and they've got that. They didn't realise what they were getting because they chose it pre-sale of that, and all of a sudden it just ruins the house instantly. You think, oh, you got these cheap flooring, which it's not necessarily cheap, but it looks cheap.
Yeah.
And that finish, I think, is so important for people to remember, because and these clients, when they saw it, I didn't know I was getting that because it was brushed over.
Yeah.
And then you go, how do we fix that? And it's not an easy fix. So
yeah, that's dead right. It's one of those things that we run through with every customer. You kind of like asking them those questions, finding, is this your house? Who's it for? What are you expecting? As the finished product. If you look at something like just one that's a real big selling point is the way it finishes in the kitchen area. Like Australia, Perth, got that big open plan kitchen, living, dining.
Yeah.
A lot of people will look at that, that big kitchen island bench in the middle.
Yeah.
If you've got a floating floor, you're going to have compulsory little vinyl wrap Scotia around the perimeter and the base of all of those.
Absolutely.
But if you've got a nice, beautiful waterfall end popping down the end that you've spent a fortune on, the last thing you want to do is fit that Scotia around the bottom.
Yeah. And
that's where something like a glue down product like vinyl plank really comes into play.
Yeah.
So we can make sure they're getting that level of finish they want.
Is that a marketing thing? Is that a lot of people hear the word vinyl and freak out because they go, oh, I don't want vinyl. And go, no, it's the vinyl plank. It's a different.
Yes, I think marketers have tried by calling it LVP, or LVT, add the luxury word into it to make it sort of different from the traditional sheet vinyl. Which is, traditionally just a 2, 3, 4 mil thick product, just loose laid, 4 mil wide in a roll, similar to carpet that just gets rolled out over the top. And the minute you mention vinyl, that's the perception people have.
Yeah, absolutely.
But absolutely no comparison between the two.
I think that's why hybrids become so popular, because it hasn't got vinyl in it. Like you say, it's a hybrid. The other advantage with vinyl plank, in my understanding, is though that if you had an issue or this could be wrong, there's something wrong with it. How hard is it to replace a piece?
Yeah, well, like a lot of the products now, the sort of those 4.5, 5 mil thick products, they'll just get glued down with a pressure-sensitive adhesive.
Yep.
If you do have a damage in the middle of the room, you can actually lift out that one individual plank and just drop another one in.
So that seems so if it is glued down, which people have a hesitation for, then based on what you just said, then it doesn't seem that hard to remove it if you had to.
Yeah, well, with those ones, they call them a loose lay product. It's a term. Well, the company that created vinyl planks many years ago, they thought they could lay it loose lay without glue, and that term has just stuck. So any vinyl plank that's 4.5 mil or thicker gets referred to as loose lay, still to this day, even though we glue it down. Anything thinner than that would be something that you'd have to use a compulsory hard set adhesive. Gotcha. So you're gluing it down hard and fast. It's not the sort of thing like a pressure-sensitive adhesive. It's almost like a really tacky back of a sticker that you can kind of peel it up, with a bit of give, but the hard set stuff, that's stocked down hard and fast. Yeah.
Which is what you want, right?
You would have to heat up you'd basically have to get the adhesive to warm up. You'd have to heat it up before you could actually lift it up. So there's a bit more work involved to do it, but it can be done. Yeah,
cool. Well, that's a big benefit of it. So why would you go vinyl plank versus proper timber floors?
Almost always, it's a budget thing.
Okay. But I've been to people's houses and go, I love your timber floors. They go, that's vinyl plank.
Yeah.
Because it looks so obvious. It looks so good. But to you, obviously, it's probably obvious seeing the two. To a layman, is it really that obvious? Or
it probably would be when you're touching. They do a lot of great work now with these like the high definition prints we're getting on all the products.
Yeah.
But nothing's quite going to meet real timber. You've got that real. A good way to notice it is that every single plank's going to be different to the one next to it.
Yeah.
When they're making a laminate hybrid vinyl plank, there's always going to be pattern repeats.
Gotcha.
So you're going to see one knot on this plank and you'll look 10 meters over that way, you're going to see the same knot again.
Yeah.
It's going to be exactly the same thing. They couldn't possibly make products where every plank is different to the one next to it.
So how do you do that? Does it come out randomly and that you go, you just lay them randomly, or do you guys match up every 7 you have to do the knot? Or
our installers have got to be onto it. You've got to make sure that, because the last thing you want is kind of laying it where it kind of looks like it's got a big staircase getting built up and it's got the same knot in every single one. We'd be getting phone calls straight away. Yeah. So it's that's credit to our guys installing, that's something they've got to keep an eye on and make sure they've got a good stagger on the boards and they're varying all the patterns and things so they can get the most realistic look they can.
Yeah. No, well, it's an art. Because these things you don't think about,
Yeah.
unless you're doing what you do. But you go, okay, and you want to see it, make it look like it's as natural, as authentic as proper timber can be.
Yep.
To go from that perspective. With timber, so you've got engineered timber, then you've got the natural timber. Like, what's the differences with those?
Well, traditionally, there would just be solid timber.
Yeah,
and that's
solid timber,
exactly what it is. It's just big one chunk of one species of timber. So a lot of the old homes here in Perth, you can walk around, there's the old, red,
Black
dark,
butter,
Jarrah timber floors. That's just a chunk of timber nailed down to the joists.
Cool.
With engineered timber, they've basically developed a system where you've got a top layer of the actual timber that you're getting. So let's say use an oak, a European oak as an example. And then below that, you're going to have cross-layered ply of, made from birch or eucalyptus, some sort of another timber, which really helps the stability of the product.
Yeah. So you put ply underneath and then timber on top. So
Exactly right. So they do cross-lay it.
Yeah.
Really helps with stability. And obviously when they do it that way, it helps with the cost as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you don't really care what the thickness is. It's how it looks on top and how it feels.
That is it.
Yeah.
You could have a solid timber floor in a room right next to with exactly the same species of a engineered timber floor, both of them direct stuck to the slab, and I guarantee you wouldn't be able to tell the difference walking on them.
Yeah, magic. So, so I guess there's no real benefit of having solid timber.
We find that absolutely now. It's like you can get all of that high-end finish for a much better price point. And one of the other kickers for it is if you bought a solid timber floor, someone's going to come in there and install it, they're going to sand it, and they're going to have to coat it at least 3 times in your house, which could be weeks of a process to actually do it properly.
Yeah.
With the engineered timber, and the main thing is it's pre-finished. So where you're looking at 3 coats of UV lacquer or something on where you're doing it, where the solid timber floor, this is all getting made in the factory.
Yeah.
So it's getting all milled, put together in the factory, and then it's getting sanded and sealed there, and some of them might have 9-10 coats on top, which is obviously going to help with the durability as well.
Yeah, well, but it's done in a factory where it's in a controlled environment, make it work.
Yeah, and then once you glue it down, once the glue has gone off and it's firmly held, you're ready to move in straight away. You're not waiting any longer. So like if someone comes in on Tuesday, you're moving in on Wednesday.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. That's brilliant. Because I did engineered floors in my house a while ago, and we had to acclimatise it to the house for a while. What's that process for?
That's just, there's one of the, obviously being a natural product, it's going to expand and contract, when it's been sitting on probably imported from Europe, ends up here in Perth, sitting on a shelf somewhere in a warehouse, it's acclimatising to its current position.
Yeah.
So by doing that, you're taking it into its new home, basically, where it's going to stay. You crack open the boxes, get used to the temperature environment that you're in there.
Yeah.
Acclimatizes to it, it kind of gets, because these boards are going to expand and contract.
Yeah.
So it's going to get to its natural point of where it's going to be sitting in that temperature before you install it, because if you run in there and install it really quickly in a really hot environment and it's come from a cold environment, these boards are going to contract and then you're going to have issues.
Yeah, you get surprises and you don't want surprises. Yeah, absolutely. Although, mind you, we were in the house for about 5 months and a tap was leaking under our sink, slowly dripping under. Came home one day and all the floors had warped and it actually lifted our kitchen off the ground.
Yep.
And I went in the room, my daughter, who was like 3 at the time, goes, "Daddy, what's wrong with the kitchen?" I went, that's not normal. And that was the beginning of it. It got worse from there. But, watch your taps. It's important. But it looked awesome while the time we were there.
Yeah.
And then we stayed at a place in Stubby for 6 weeks while they ripped it all out and replaced it. Had to replace the entire kitchen too. So, but great floors. Great way to go. So they climatise. So obviously you don't have to worry about that with the vinyl plank.
No, but obviously that's not being a natural product. You're like vinyl plank's one of those ones that doesn't allow for expansion. You don't need to. When we're going up to walls and things like that, we're just going hard up to it.
Brilliant.
Nice and neat and tight.
Beautiful. Yeah, and you can get any range of colour, can't you? Really, any timber you can pretty much match with vinyl plank. Yeah,
you come to our showroom. We've got every array of different oaks, all your Aussie species, spotted gum, black butt, you name it, you can get it. And if not in any of that, they're doing it in stone and tile finishes as well.
Yeah, and you've got them all on display there, don't you?
Yeah.
Or most of them anyway. Yeah, that's brilliant. So what are the negatives of vinyl plank?
One of those ones would be, just like if it was someone that had a rental or something and you had a bad tenant, came in and absolutely wrecked your floors, you go going through the whole process. If you had to rip out the whole floor, it's going to be a lot of extra work that you wouldn't have to do if you had a floating floor. You know, that really does come to mind. But
so do it this is a long-term decision. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. But as far as like all these products, you know, they're all going to be affected by nature. It's the one thing that people don't take into mind. You know, it's temperature, it's moisture, it's sunlight.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what floor it is, they get affected by it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's like the main thing for any floor that you have to be mindful of.
So I'm a big fan when I design a house of not having full-length windows. Maybe on the front might be different, but mainly in living areas, because I like to have maybe 7 courses of brickwork or 500 mil or something like that above the ground. And I like that for a couple of reasons. One, sunlight not fading my floorings. B, also a big one for me is that if you've got kids in those rooms and they have a ball, most likely you're going to smash the window. And the third one there is that if you have like sprinklers on outside or dirt, it always looks dirty at the bottom.
Yep.
But direct sunlight onto glues and adhesives, it's got to take its toll, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we had an issue about a week ago. One of the guys in my team brought one over and he said, we've got an issue. There's this board lifting. Can you have a look at this photo for me?
Yeah.
And photo came in, you could literally see the sunlight beaming onto it in the photo. I'm like, I don't need to tell you what's causing it. It's the sunlight.
What could it be?
It's the sunlight that's hitting it. You know, it's just, you got to have window treatment, you know, UV protection.
And the window would act as a magnifying glass.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like that immediately, like there was no doubts what was causing it. And that's often what happens with, like particularly now, we've got a real boom in the place, you know, where sometimes we're laying floors long before people are actually moving in.
Yeah.
And if they don't have, you know, their blinds and things included as part of their package, and, you know, they're waiting for this 3, 4, 5 weeks before they actually move in, before they could put the window treatments on.
Yeah.
And it's the peak in the middle of summer, that's when things can go wrong, basically, where there's no one in the house, it's totally vacant, it's all closed up, aircon's not on, there's no curtains on the windows.
Yeah.
That sunlight beaming through in 40-degree heat in the height of summer, that's those sort of things that are really going to impact any floor you have, really.
So is that with vinyl plank and also hybrid?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what can people do about that? Because obviously your living area might be on the western side or whatever, and you're going to get that heat. What do you do about that? It's just have blinds and curtains?
That's it. You know, I'm no different. I've got timber in my place, and, you know, I know when the sun's beaming through the back window, I'm bringing the blinds right down.
Close those curtains.
Exactly, yeah. It's just making sure that when that flooring does go in, that you've got the right things in place to look after it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of between, you know, the client, their builder, and us if they are building a home, to make sure that us being a finishing trade, we're coming in at the right time.
Yeah.
You know, like right towards the end before they move in, no other trades coming over the top of it that can damage it.
Yeah.
And then being able to, like, if you just have a short time frame from us finishing up, from them actually moving in.
Yes.
Putting on the aircon, having the right temperature control, and having all the right window treatments.
Yeah, and educating them as best you can as to be aware this is something you've got to be aware of, because it's going to happen with anything. I mean, I've been to so many houses where the flooring's faded. It's going to happen.
Absolutely.
Do something, and unfortunately, the design might be more suited for you to have it a certain way. You've got to be aware of what you've got.
Yeah.
That works well. So you get the vinyl plank. You've got obviously the engineered timber. You've got also the hybrid flooring. Carpets. So obviously Trevor's Carpets. You do carpets. I'm going to ask, mate, is Trevor, or was that like your last name or somebody, or some random guy called Trevor goes,
No,
do you know what?
I actually know the story. It's
Yep.
quite funny. Well, Ray Green, who started Trevor's, family still owns and runs the place.
Yep.
When he first he bought a furnishing company, and I believe it was called Trevor's Home Furnishing.
Trevor's.
Yes. And, you know, just obviously him running his own business, it developed into something that kind of moved along more into carpets. And Trevor's Home Furnishings turned into Trevor's Carpets.
Trevor's. I can't mention too many Aussies.
Apparently
going
it was in
Trevor's.
Beaufort Street in Mount Lawley or somewhere out that way back in the 70s. So, so it just developed from a home furnishings place into a carpet shop. And then we've taken on hard floors. And
well, if anybody at home remembers it being as Trevor's, then please leave a comment and remind us what it was like. Because I thought it was like, whose carpet is this? It's Trevor's. Oh, Trevor's, it's your carpet. And therefore there's the name.
We all get called Trevor once a week. Every one of us that work there, we get called Trevor at least once a week.
Absolutely. Because it's such an Aussie name, like Trevor's Carpet.
We got one guy, Trevor, that works there.
Yeah. He got high purely on the name. Terrible at his job, this guy. No, but look, it's just one of those names that you got out there. So, all right, so there's obviously a whole range of carpets you can get out there, and some are not like the others. What would be a really good carpet for investment property? versus, the other options that are out there?
Well, it's generally down to like the yarn, what it's made from. Sort of your entry level yarn is polypropylene.
Yep.
That's what's going to come in, with your
Proper
builder's
yep.
standard, those sort of things. So that'll be good for your rentals, your first home builders. So low cost. And then you're going to take a step up to your polyesters. You've got another one now, which is a polyester blend called a triexter, mixed with a corn sugar polymer. And then you've got your premium fibers, which would be your nylon and your wool.
Yep.
But as far as, investors and things like that, they're generally going to go for the more inexpensive cost.
Yeah, hard wearing and balance and hard wearing and...
Like the yarn's got a very good breaking strength, but not very good memory. So if you're going to have like heavy furniture and things on top, they don't bounce back quite as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, the couch was right there, I can tell. Because,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So you got different types of finishings as well. You got loop.
Yeah, so you'll have what you call, you get a plush is where the yarn is just straight up.
Yeah.
You then get, or they'll call it a cut pile plush, and then you get a cut pile twist. So it's exactly the same thing, but there's actually a twist in the yarn.
Fancy.
And then you get a loop, which is exactly what it is. It's just a continuous loop, just woven in different designs to give it a different look and feel. And you do get some that do blend the two, where you have a cut and loop. And that's essentially them.
Gotcha. So what's the top of the range of that? Is that the loop or the...
Well, if you went on what's, where all the trends are lying at the moment, the chunkier the loop, the better.
Yeah, cool.
There's, everything's leaning right towards your natural products and things like that. So like timber in the hard floors and wool carpets now. So, you got the chunkier the loop, the better.
Yeah, cool. Okay. So maybe I'm not too chunky, trip hazard, but, and that's also a really soft finish, obviously, sort of walking barefoot. It's just beautiful.
Yes, absolutely. That really helps with the comfort under your feet.
Yeah. So square meterage wise, what should people allow for carpets, things like that, as a rough guide before getting too specific?
Yeah, I'd have to. If you would get something really good around about the 50 to 60 a square meter, like a really good carpet.
Yeah, magic.
Yeah, so like and then, it's going to be lower than that for your builder's range and things like that. But, around that 50, 60 a square meter, you can get really good carpet. That's going to, family home, something that's going to last a long time.
Yeah, and that's good allowance, actually. And the reality is that if you're not sure what you want, and so much we can do on a podcast, go and see it for yourself. I think you got to feel it and see it and touch it. If you were your house, what would you be thinking?
Well, I've got engineered timber and a solution dyed nylon in my house. Got a house with the missus and the 2 kids and a small dog.
Yeah.
And we've got a solution dyed nylon, and we specifically chose that because it is something that it's considered the most stain resistant.
Yeah,
and I've got young kids, and a little dog in the house. So, with those little issues you have, messes and such, let's put it the best way to go. I think most people that work in the industry would have a nylon. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, when the kids get older, I'm definitely buying a wool.
Yep. Yeah. But nylon is just that hard wearing. Yeah. Great. What dog do you have?
It's a Maltese cross Shih Tzu.
Actually, I love it. Look, a lot of Shih Tzus are great.
Yeah. After Patrick Swayze.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. I wonder if we get an E rating for this after saying that. But they're great dogs though, beautiful and cute. Yeah, I got a Lagotto at home that loves. Actually ruined our carpet. Lagotto's an Italian truffle hunting dog.
Oh, wow.
They look like poodles when you see a picture of them, but when you put them next to a poodle, they don't look like poodles. And they're the oldest purebred dog in the world. So if you see a Renaissance painting of the Italian royal family from like the 1700s, you'll see a Lagotto. And because they're purebred, they look exactly the same today as what they did 500 years ago.
Cool.
But they're really cute. But my Lagotto has caused so much damage to my house. It's ridiculous. One of them, and this comes to my next question for you, is we had this carpet upstairs. We've been in the home for, I reckon, 2 weeks. We've been planning to renovate. We're going to get around to eventually. And the dog's basically pulled a little bit of thread and gone, oh, this is nice. I went right and just tore our carpet in half.
So you've obviously got a loop pile?
Yes. So I was going to say that. Is that the thing that happens these days? Like,
it does. Well, if you've got a cat, don't get a loop pile because of the way that they pull on it. It's one of the first questions we ask people about the pets and who's living in the house, because with it having a continuous loop all the way through, if you do pull one, it's going to pull it all the way out. Yeah. But there are some master guys out there who can get a needle and thread and sew it all back into.
Yeah, I don't think our carpet was that good. The kids put a lot of stains on it too. So it's like, maybe not. But I just saw that and I went, oh, of course she did. Yeah, no problems. But she's got skills, that dog. So with that, what colours are good colours for having kids? And which colours should you avoid? So whites, blacks, darks, lights?
Yeah, well, I lived in a rental when we were building our place, and, I think the perception is people just think it's a rental, I'll just find the darkest carpet I can.
Yeah.
I know for me personally, that drove me absolutely nuts. Every day I was coming home and grabbing the vacuum because every little bit of white dust was just standing out because I had a perfectly black carpet.
Yeah.
So I actually chose something intentionally myself with that in mind, which is something that has two shades in it. In a cut pile twist carpet, when they've got the two colours in, they call it a stipple. A stipple where it has the two shades in it.
Yeah.
And that's really good.
You pay an extra for that, I imagine.
Not necessarily. Okay. It's just a typical, it'll be the same yarn, it'll just be a particular colour in a range.
Yep.
I chose a loop pile for my particular place, and that does actually have two shades in it.
Yeah.
Which, when you do have the unfortunate spills and things, which are going to happen in any house, it does help disguise it a bit better.
Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. And are they easy to clean carpets these days? Like
they are, as far as your warranties and things go, you just got to steam clean it once a year. But, generally just get to it with a wet, damp cloth, dab it nicely, and you should get most things out. But there are some really good cleaners out there too that I can attest to that, that can get things out as well. Yeah,
fantastic. They're all things you got to consider, because we get a lot of people that go, we don't want carpet, we just want timber everywhere because they might be allergic or something like that. You can get carpet out there that is hypoallergenic sort of carpet, can't you? Or is it still, if you're allergic to, if you get allergies easily, avoid it? What are your sort of thoughts?
Yeah, well, a lot of the people that do have those allergy issues, they then generally try lean towards going hard floor throughout.
Yeah.
And I think that's solely because, with the carpet, if you're not vacuuming it all the time, just your dust and things like that will get trapped in a carpet, So I think that may be a bit of an issue with people with allergies and things. But as far as, your wool, 100% wool carpets and things, those would be considered a hypoallergenic option.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so it's the best you could possibly get.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've got to ask you a question. Have many people in your time, in the last 10 years, carpeted their kitchens?
Not that I'm aware of.
I know it was popular in the 70s, a bit of carpet everywhere.
We get funny queries all the time.
Yeah.
And we just say no.
I'm sure some people still do the toilet skibble.
But in the UK, I lived over there. I had a place that had a carpet in the bathroom.
Classy.
Yeah.
Classy. Yeah, absolutely. Arches are in at the moment in the houses, so I guess maybe carpet in the kitchen might come back. Hopefully no time soon, but
hopefully not.
Who knows? You never know. You never know on the big smoke. But look, at the end of the day, with floorings, if people aren't sure what they want, what's the best thing for them to do?
I would start straight away by doing a bit of your own research.
Yeah.
Like the internet's great these days. You can say not every place is going to be totally honest with you.
Yeah.
So start off doing a fair bit of your own research. You can find out just benefits, pitfalls of certain products, and then just come down and see us at Trevor's. We'll run you through every last little thing, and you're going to get a pretty honest, review of each product. And you'll quickly be able to figure out which one's the right one for you.
Yeah, absolutely. My suggestion for people at home is, do your own research 100%, but just if you're dealing with builders directly, just be a little bit, the information they have, and they might say it with extreme confidence, this is the best flooring, this is why. Just take it with a grain of salt, though, because they may only be repeating what they've been told. I'm not saying they're lying to you, or they just may not have all the information. You're better off going to someone like a Trevor's Carpet, where they are neutral, they are unbiased, and say, look, this is what we feel is the best for you, and you have the price point. So I just think especially with consultants and building companies and that, you just got to be careful.
Yeah, I think for someone working with building a house, you're looking at a lot more than just floors.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You're looking at every aspect of the home. Whereas you're coming into a flooring place, we're going to talk to you just about flooring.
Yeah.
So we're experts in our trade, and they might be knowledgeable over the entire building, but not necessarily an expert in particular things.
Yeah.
So come in and see the expert, and that'll be definitely my recommendation.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. Okay, so next subject. Obviously going back to the timbers, laminates, vinyl planks, the hybrid. With staircases. So this is often a thing that comes up, that people might have the hybrid flooring and they go, great, I've got a staircase, because hybrid is the buzzword, and then they go there. Walk us through the issues that you have with that, with staircases, because people aren't aware of this.
Yeah, well...
We get a lot of requests for two-story, and they go, okay, I want two-story, and they go, yeah, great, throw a price in there, they get to the staircase and they realise, wait, this isn't a straightforward.
Anything's possible on a staircase, as from vinyl plank, hybrid or timber.
Yeah.
The real limitation is kind of with the open staircase. So like if you wanted to have something that's a real feature staircase where one side of it's totally open.
With a balustrade,
Yeah, where you can actually see the front and the side. There's no stringer up the side of the staircase. timber is the only solution for that. If you've got a closed staircase, wall both sides, or a stringer on both sides, you can have a vinyl plank or a hybrid. We have the benefit of having a dedicated customer service department, and we were I believe the first people in Perth to actually do things like using these custom-made nosings out of vinyl planks and hybrids and things. So we do have a very good understanding of what's going to stand the test of time and what's not going to. That's why I say engineered timber. Get a master carpenter on there. They can do whatever you want with it. Open voids, open staircases, whatever it is. But when you're getting to vinyl plank and hybrid, those products do have their limitations.
Can you just go deeper into that and explain why? So obviously, you've got a staircase, you're going up and like this. Why just timber? Why not vinyl plank?
Well, timber is a really rigid, solid chunk of wood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you're looking at something like a vinyl plank. This is PVC with plasticizers and, a print on the top and everything. There's ways to manipulate that product to make it slightly rigid. We can ply the staircase, box it out, try and make it as perfectly square as we can. But when it's a product that's not really, really rigid like real timber, where you can see miters and things coming in, it's going to be a weak spot on that product.
Yeah, and you're putting that weight on there, especially on the edge. It's just not going to have the same finish.
Exactly. That's why, for us, we try not to do it at all.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And also, if someone does do it, you'd have to put a disclaimer on it. We need to say, hey, look, guys, this is...
Yeah, there's there's certain situations, like depending on where the traffic in the home is, whether or not someone's going to be walking there, whether it can be achievable.
Yeah.
But generally, open staircases are a no-no for us when it comes to vinyl plank and hybrid.
Yeah.
But, no issue if you've got a double-story home with a stringer, you can have whatever you want.
Yeah, yeah. And so just on that, it's just the overhang there, isn't it? And also, because these come in planks, so you got to chop them. They're not designed for that, so you can't actually manipulate them to be on those sizes.
Yeah, when you're looking at a real piece of timber, you're basically you're manufacturing it and forming it into the pencil round stair nosing, or the bull nose, as people term. But when you're looking at something like a hybrid or a vinyl plaque, you're cutting into the back of the board, and then you're then forming it around a solid piece of some to give it the same feature as what you would get in real timber.
Yeah.
So you're kind of manipulating the product to try and get the same look.
Yeah, gotcha.
Some things are just, fit for purpose,
Yeah.
and some things are not. It's wonderful what guys can achieve and the ways they've figured out to do it, but we know what's going to stand the test of time and what's not.
Magic. And that's the whole point, is what's going to last you beyond the first day of
Exactly.
having it. Just on that, you do have a display home. You do have a display of staircases at the office there,
yes,
which is great. So if people are at home are listening to this and they're not quite getting what we're saying here, go check it out. You've got the different options and different looks and finishes that you got, which I thought when I was there the other day was amazing. Just to go, oh, that's so obvious. I took heaps of photos and just to go, okay, that's what that looks like. Okay, now it makes sense, because when you see it, you can see the finish.
It helps us immensely. When talking with people via email or on a phone, you use a term like stringer, they don't even know what you're talking about. Get them in the showroom. We've got our own little display right there with one built in. We can actually say that is it. Yeah. That is what we're talking about, and these are the limitations with the product you're looking at, and guide them onto the right one.
Yeah, but hey, if you're investing hundreds of $1,000s in a house, just wing it. No need to check it out. No.
Well.
The point is, check it. Just spend that bit of extra time, find out what you're getting, and make it work properly. Just showing something again a little bit. So if we also do renovations, extensions to people as well as new builds. If we're extending, people often have the old Jarrah floors that they've got there. It's been like that for 50 years, and then they want to build a new part. What are some suggestions about the new and the old meeting, and sort of what's a good way to...
We send one of our install managers out on every one of those ones, because as they're getting done right now, most renovations have gone from either your house with timber on joists, or it's a concrete slab, and then the new extension has something like a structure floor substrate or something. So whenever there's those very different types of substrates, we're always going to send someone out to come and have a look and see how they interface and the best way to do it. But depending on what's on the floor and the state of it, will dictate what product's going to be suitable, whether or not we might have to ply over the top before we put some new flooring down. So it's definitely the sort of thing you want to have a look at. Yeah,
so when you have the old Jarrah, let's say you got the new, we've chopped your house in half and you're extending it out, often they put a beam across that cross section there, so they can actually put the new area. Why is that? What are they trying to achieve from that?
I think it's probably just separating the two areas. Visually, if you've had some solid Jarrah timber floor down for 40 years, and now you decided you're going to extend the living room, you're never going to find some 100 mil wide Jarrah floorboards that look exactly the same as the rest of the room. So you're better off kind of creating a boundary of it and starting afresh with some new floor. Aesthetically, it's going to look more pleasing.
Yeah, look, I'm glad you said that. Because, like, first of all, with the old floor, you have to sand it back. And if you're doing a new floor, you've got to sand it both together. And the problem with the old floor is often it might have been sanded back a few times before. You're running out of lives. It's like cat has 9 lives. Floors have maybe 3 or 4. Yeah. And then if you sand it back and you're at your last time, you can't do it again, or you can't sand it back. And then the new floor just doesn't look the same. And I personally recommend to people that if you've got a new extension, try and contrast the new with the old. You might do a polished concrete and an old Jarrah, or the other way around, or just don't. If you try to match it and you get it wrong, it stands it like that and just looks terribly.
It's funny you say that, because I agree wholeheartedly, and I give exactly the same advice. Yeah. It's one of those things where you look like you've tried to match it, but you failed.
Yeah,
because you're never going to get it right. It's going to be kind of shades that are close to each other, but they're not the same. And you put them right next to each other, they look black and white.
Yeah, absolutely. And you go, and that's the thing though. And if you do have the old and the new, you've got to, like I said, sand it back, and then you got to recoat the whole lot to make it look the same. Now, I think it's okay if your board width changes. I think that's okay. And I think if you're extending or renovating, I think it's acceptable to have imperfections. In fact, as personality, so to speak, I've got plenty of personality if you look at it the other way. But the reality is that I think that's okay. But I think if you get the colours wrong and the feel, if you can't beat them, join them. So if you can't join them, do the opposite. Yeah, that's a terrible analogy. But the thing is, I think that contrast is a really good way, and just draw a line in the sand of, this is the new, this is the old.
Yep.
And I think that's a real big thing. But I like what you said about going out there and seeing each job, because with renovating, it is you have an existing place. Every job is different. Your neighbour might have a similar home, but it is a different area. And finding the right place to make that change too. It might not be the obvious spot that you think. It might be some other place in the home that you go, okay, let's make that change here. And get it right. I think you guys offering that people come out there and see it.
Yeah, well, with a renovation or something like that, where there's floor coming out, or we're extending floor or something like that, you've got to send someone out to have a look in those particular instances. It's not as easy as just a single-story brand new home with a bit of vinyl plank and carpet. This has got a lot more things to take into account when you're doing a renovation.
Yeah, absolutely. With timber floors, just one more question here with timber floors, or even vinyl plank. Which way? Is there a method, I'm just throwing this out there, of which way to lay it, like lengthways or sideways? Is there
It's usually with your line of sight as you walk in the front door.
Yeah.
It's more of a welcoming kind of flows. Otherwise, you're pretty much opening your front door, and if you've got a plank running straight across your line of sight.
Yeah.
Someone told me it's got some feng shui thing in it as well.
That's
I
true.
believe it might be.
It's sort of leading you through the home.
Yeah, but then you also, you do get some of those homes, those big single-story country homes, which when you look at, front doors in the front and the whole thing's just spread out sideways.
Yeah.
And on those particular homes, it might be better actually just running it parallel with the longest wall.
Yeah.
So there are variances to look at. Not every home is going to be that straightforward.
Yeah.
But generally, as a rule of thumb, like, we would run it with the main entry door, so when you are opening it, it's flowing with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with that, what kind of other styles can you do with timber floors? Obviously, you've got the straight planks. What other sort of options?
Oh, there's a magnitude of them out there.
What are
a lot of people.
Well,
I've got chevron in my house.
Yep.
There is.
So chevron is the
chevron is the
arrow
the ones that are perfectly in a point.
Yeah.
And then you've got the herringbone, which is very similar, but they butt join. Butt the ends on like that. We've done projects like when I was looking after our apartment, like multi-residential department, we've laid hexagon weave timber floors.
Oh my gosh!
So there's
hexagons.
Yeah, super interesting, cool stuff to do.
You pay a premium for these, obviously. Cause
absolutely.
This was
a very high-end apartment complex in Floreat.
Yeah.
Where a lot of the penthouses and things have got it throughout.
Your flooring guys look at you going, you want me to do what? A hexagon? Wow.
No, we're very blessed with the guys.
Just do it.
We're blessed with the guys we got on the tools. So a lot of people looked at it and said, hell no. But we got people that did a great job at it.
I assume that looks better in a bigger area than like a tight. You wouldn't want to try and do that in a tight.
Definitely, when you're looking at parquetry designs and things, your more open plan, open areas will work much really better. Pop. You get people that want things like a herringbone floor with a border and things like that. That's not going to suit a small little villa or something, you have like a bigger, grander house, high ceilings, that sort of particular style of home where those things are going to work.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't be putting, your parquetry. It could make it very busy in a small home.
Exactly right. Yeah, and too busy and stressful. Yeah, exactly right. And then also one last topic for today, Scotia, and you're talking about obviously different finishes that you can do around the timber or hybrid floorings. What are sort of options that people have out there?
Well, when you're looking at like a laminate or a hybrid, your only option for those is you're going to have the vinyl wrap Scotia that goes around the perimeter. That's going to go up against all vertical surfaces. Yeah. And then you're going to have your expansion trims that are basically going to go up against tiles and things where there's varied heights. Yeah. And being a floating floor, they've got something called raft area. So where these boards are going to expand and contract, being a floating floor, not glued down. So depending on the product and the manufacturer, they've got certain requirements of when you need to actually put an expansion trim directly in the floor. Yeah. So that's just to allow them to move and contract independently of each other. Yeah. Without encountering any issues.
You could put a skirting on there, couldn't you, if you wanted to? Or
you can,
in a little of a Scotia or something?
You could, against the walls and things, but obviously with those areas like a kitchen where you got fixed cabinetry and things, no one's putting skirting on those. So there's going to be compulsory Scotia on every floating floor job. You couldn't do it without any.
Yeah, so hence why you do vinyl plank. I think vinyl plank's a no-brainer for that for most people.
That, exactly. Yeah. And then when you're looking at direct stick timber, you wouldn't use Scotia. You go buying a beautiful high-end timber product. You're not going to use vinyl wrap Scotia. Yeah. You can either offer them, solid splay beading, which is a solid chunk of timber, much smaller profile than the actual Scotia. Yeah. But also being direct stick, we can use flexible silicone as well in lieu of that. So even though you've got to leave that small expansion gap around the perimeter of your kitchen islands and things like that, we can silicone around that in lieu of it. So it does give you the illusion of that kitchen cabinetry just been plonked on top.
Better option, much better option.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And with skirting, is there like a rule of skirting? Because I like it simple with skirting boards. Some people do massive fancy ones. There's all sorts of options there.
It all just depends on the client, really. Like me personally, I've got a oak timber floor in my place, chevron pattern with a pretty stock standard, 92 mil splay. Yeah, that's what I've gone with. Very happy with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it comes in individuals, but I do think it's a nice way to finish off the house. But
me too. I do love the white skirting over the top of like a nice neutral, natural toned timber floor.
Yeah, beautiful. Awesome. Thank you, mate. You're a wealth of information. We could keep talking about this all day long, but I really appreciate you coming on. It's fantastic. Thank you for coming on the podcast. We do have a question we ask everybody, and I'm not sure if we gave you a heads up about this or not.
No, you didn't.
There you go. Okay, question me out here. This is going to be really interesting. So you're about to build or renovate your next house. All of a sudden you get a check in the mail from a distant relative you didn't know was alive, some surf legend or whatever, I don't know. And they go, here's $10,000 that you must spend on your house. Mm-hmm. Now, it doesn't have to be flooring related. It could be anything. What would you spend that 10 grand on? And you don't have to check it with your partner either. You can just choose.
Just me right now, I'd be putting the timber floors through my bedrooms.
There instantly. You go. Awesome. So, yep. There you go. Will that cover it? 10 grand cover your timber floors in your bedroom?
Oh, is that
maybe a deposit? I don't know.
I'll get a good deposit on it anyway. But that would definitely be it. We're talking about it right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And why timber floors in the bedrooms?
Oh, we've just, it was budget conscious when we built the house, so we kind of went more the inexpensive option with the carpets in the bedrooms. Yeah. If we could have at the time, we would have put timber throughout. My missus loves timber as much as I do, and we've got this great European oak chevron in the house, so if we could get something like that in the bedrooms, great.
Yeah, so would you put it like a rug underneath the bed and that, or you just keep it?
Yeah, that would be, definitely.
Yeah, magic. No, that's a great option, mate. Look, can't beat a good timber throughout the house.
Yeah. No.
With timber, the old school used to doing it was the hardness of 9 or 8 or whatever. That's changed now.
Yeah, there's a scale they used to use. It's called the Janker scale. Yeah. But that's a solid piece of timber in its natural form. You can't really use that scale when you're referring to engineered timber. Yeah. Because it's something like I mentioned before, where it's all pre-finished in the factory. So when you're adding all these multiple layers of lacquers and things on top, finishes on top, that's helping with the durability.
They're all hard wearing.
Yeah, so unless they're going to, hit the bang test on it after they've put all the coatings on, it's not really an accurate reading anymore.
Because there's a lot of people that, I've been to people's houses where they've got scratches everywhere. There's probably maybe the old way of doing it with the proper timber, whereas some people's houses look pristine 10 years later. Is that Is that just because, like with the engineered flooring this time, most of them are pretty hard wearing?
They are very hard wearing. You got your differences. You got your oiled finish, and then you've also got your lacquers and things.
Yeah.
So your lacquers are going to be they'll be a lot more hardy and durable.
Yeah.
But if you did get a scratch, those are the ones that are going to be more visible.
Yeah, gotcha.
And then you have like an oiled or waxed floor where there's a bit more maintenance on those. You kind of need to reapply the oil sort of every 1 to 3 years.
Yeah.
But it really does give more of the natural feature.
Yeah.
I intentionally chose a character grade product.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of natural feature in the floor.
Yeah.
And obviously being in a house, I don't want to be the dad screaming at his kids all the time.
Yeah.
So, I've intentionally chose something with a lot of character.
So what typically did you choose?
I've got it's a Coswick product. It's a European made.
Coswick.
Coswick ginger's the colour I have.
Okay.
Yeah. Obviously I work in flooring, so I've got something custom made. I don't want anybody else to have the same as I do.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. No, well, why wouldn't you? Yeah. It must be hard for you because you're seeing it all day long. Oh, I must have that.
Yeah.
Ideas, but
that's one of the real benefits I saw from putting it in our place. I just got a 4x2 up in the northern suburbs, and I got a phone call from my broker when they came through to value the house, and he said, "Love the floors."
Wicked.
And he reckons that put a hell of a lot of extra value in the home.
Wow.
By going with that really high-end natural product.
Yeah. Mate, absolutely. And obviously, it sounds like you nailed it because.
We love it. That's why we want more.
Yeah, we're going to stay there for a while, I imagine. No, absolutely. Thank you so much, Robin, for coming on. You're amazing. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers, mate.